Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Okay, good evening. It is August 9th, and you are tuned in to Black Authors Matter TV. I am Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, along with my co-host,
Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Hello, everybody.
And we have another amazing lineup, and we're excited about that. Before we get started, always excited. Before we get started, I would like to have a couple of housekeeping notes, and then we're going to give away 2 books at the top of the show. So first, the National Black Book Festival is going to be an awesome event this year. We're totally sold out of vendor space. Our waiting list has maxed out. So those of you who are on the waiting list, if we had space, a little bit of space opened up. We did let a few more people in. You got an email, so you're already in the process. So it's going to be really an amazing event this year. Next week, we are going to be announcing the finalists for the Jerry Pinkney Children's Book Awards. So we are very excited. We received about 150 entries with books, children's books of all types. And our judges met twice. We made our selections for the finalists. So we're interested and excited about announcing those and seeing how you all receive all that. There's really some beautiful work from these authors for children's books. We have 2 books to give away tonight, and I'm going to be letting you know which ones right now. So we're going to do it right now. So these are people you know. These are books by authors you know. And the first one is by none other than Beverly Jenkins. She has a new book called To Catch a Raven. This is an advanced reading copy. It comes out August 23rd is the release date for this book. And the trivia question for this book is, the book features Raven, who goes undercover to reclaim what famous document? So the main character, Raven, goes undercover to reclaim what famous document? So the first one who answers it gets that book. The second book is a book coming out in September, I believe, or maybe later this month, August. This book is by the actress Jennifer Lewis. I don't think it's exactly a memoir because it doesn't say a memoir, but this is an advanced reading copy, and it's called Walking in My Joy in These Streets. So the trivia question to get this book is, Jennifer Lewis starred in what ABC sitcom? Now that's kind of an easy question, but the first person who answers it gets the book. Right, so do we have any? Yet. We don't have any answers yet? Okay, well, let me tell you who our lineup is for tonight, although our first guest is not in the waiting area, so we might need to give her a call because she was very excited about being on the show. She emailed me today. So our first guest is Linda Holloway. She's a professor and award-winning children's author. Our second guest is Neal Lander. He's a poet and author. And I think they might have asked me if he could recite one of his poems on the show.
That's interesting.
That would be interesting to hear him recite some of his poetry. And tonight we have 2 bookstore owners. Both of them are on the West Coast. So the first one is Malik Muhammad with Malik's Books. He is he's in California, Inglewood, California. And Charles Hanna, he's with Third Eye Books, Accessories, and Gifts. And he is in Portland, Oregon. So they are both going to be joining us in the second half of the show. So has anyone won? Do we have a winner of either of the books yet?
I don't know. I was just about to, shoot. Okay, Mary's upset because she's driving.
So she can't answer the question.
Yvonne Lander, Blackish.
Okay. All right. Now, Yvonne Lander is related to our second guest, Neal Lander. So, Yvonne, the way that we do this on the show, if you win the book, you DM or direct message us your mailing address, say which book you want, and you won this one by Jennifer Lewis. It's an advanced reading copy. You say which book you want and give us your mailing address so we can mail the book to you. And so since this is your first time winning a book, then we don't have your address. A lot of the people who win books every week or every other week. So we've had their address for a long time. So
okay, now Kay Larry, she said Raven Declaration of Independence is the document.
That is correct. So Kay, you win Beverly Jenkins' new book. So let me write down Kay Larry. All right. So
Okay,
our first guest.
Is she there yet?
No, she's not.
Well, Linda is on the Facebook chat, so I'm trying to get her to move over to the Zoom.
Oh, okay.
So Linda, if you can hear us, go to the Zoom that Gwen emailed you.
Yeah, yes. And I email, sometimes people get confused. I emailed the Zoom, it says join Zoom meeting. All you do is click that. And the one that I sent you today, that link is a little bit lower down, because on the other one, what I do is I make sure people know not to give the Zoom link to their friends and family to watch the show. They need to tune in on Facebook, and I send them the Facebook link, and then the Zoom link is below that. But I've sent the Zoom link twice, so I sent it in 2 different emails. So so she was saying something in the comments. Is that what happened?
Right. Yeah, she said okay. Hear us and see us.
Okay, yeah. She needs to be on the Zoom so we can see her and talk about her book.
Okay, I'm going to call her because she's
okay.
Let's see here. I'm gonna go on mute real quick.
Okay. So, you know, back in the day, they would call somebody on that show who wants to be a millionaire, and you could phone a friend. So they would be calling people while they were live on television. Anyway, it just came to my mind when you said you were going to call them. But we've called people before. If you've been tuning into the show, sometimes people forget, or most of the time, if they're not on, the time zone is an issue. They don't realize what time zone that they get the time zone mixed up. So that's that, or it's a technical problem. It happens. When it's live, anything can happen. So Rhonda is on the phone with her now. I can tell that she's talking to her because she's her lips are moving. So I'm assuming she's talking to Linda. And she'll be on screen shortly. So I hope you all are having a great week, and that you're supporting African-American authors. There's so many books. Just like we just have this is sort of like a renaissance in terms of the numbers of African-American authors and books that are being released. It's just a ton of books coming out. So I hope you all are supporting Black authors, self-published and from major publishers. It doesn't matter which ones. Support them by buying their books or spreading the word, because word of mouth is a great way to sell books. And it's helpful. That's how a lot of books reach an audience or become bestsellers, because of word of mouth. People telling a friend of a good book that they read, and then the word spreads. Or a book club picks up the book. And then that way you have multiple purchases at one time if you're an author, which is always good. So we are awaiting our guest to come on. I think Rhonda's working with her on logging on to the show. And so while we're waiting on that, I do just want to give an overview of some of the things that are going to be happening at this year's festival, we have 3 of our featured authors. Bakari Sellers, he's a CNN analyst, also a children's book author, and he has a memoir, and he's been on the show before. Karen Parsons, who's an actress, she's best known for her role on the first Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in the role of Hillary. She was also on the movie Major Pain, and she's had some other smaller roles. So she has a couple of children's books too. So she's going to be coming to the festival. Then Rashonda Tate Billingsley will be another of our featured guests. Victoria Christopher Murray was supposed to be on, and we had booked her, but she had a conflict with some international travel, and she just couldn't make it work. So she's not able to attend this year. We hope to get her next year. But we have one final featured author that we're working on, hoping to confirm soon. And we don't want to say anything. It's a name that you probably would know. And we hope to maybe have an answer next week, be able to tell you who it is. We hope to have them confirmed next week. So I need to find out from Rhonda where we are on what's the status of our first guest, because
We're almost there.
Okay, because I hadn't seen her pop up yet on the screen for our participants on the menu. I haven't seen her pop up yet. Oh, there she is. Okay. Okay, so we've got a screen there with the name. We're just waiting on the camera and the audio so we can talk to Linda Holloway.
There she is.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, we can see you. Can you see us?
Yes, I can now.
Okay, all right. Well, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me, and welcome to everybody that is here tonight. Super excited.
Okay.
Well, we are so glad to have you here. Thank you for being a part of the show.
So let's get right into it since our time is limited now.
Yes.
You have a new book, but you've had several children's books, and many of them have won awards. But your new book is called I Love My Happy Hair, not my nappy hair, but my happy hair. So because there are some books that use nappy hair in the title. So the nappy hair book series was very popular for a while. But not that was an adult book series, but that's been used a lot. So I guess is it a play on words, or you just wanted to change the way that is approached, the approach about the hair? You call it happy hair.
I really wanted to change the approach about happy hair because in my background, in terms of counseling, in terms of social emotional learning, I wanted people to really feel good about the way that their hair grows out of their head.
Okay, well,
and there's a song that goes with it. It's a happy hair song, so it just goes well.
Oh, now, do you have the song in the book? So
yes, the song is in the book.
Well, okay, now is it the words in the book, or is it
the words are in the book?
Yeah. Okay, it's not like a recording, some kind of recording.
No, it's not a recording, but it's real simple.
Okay, all right. And this book came out this year?
No, actually, this is my first book. I Love My Happy Hair. My last book that came out recently is Little Miss Linda Speaks Out About Diversity, that deal with colorism. But I wanted to focus on, because I've been kind of going into the schools and dealing with programs in terms of my happy hair. Been doing a lot of work around with children and just having them to really truly appreciate their hair, because there's been research and studies that are done that people that feel good about themselves, that have a wonderful self-concept, they tend to do well academically.
Now, you call yourself a story activist. Is that your platform to help just kind of usher in, so to speak, self-esteem for young girls?
The story activist comes from, and not to put down storyteller because it's all a part of it. I simply think that sometimes people simply just tells a story. But one of the things I like to talk about is I not only just tell a story, but I want to activate people to do something. So in all of my stories, little Miss Linda, she takes something that is negative and she turns it into something positive. And so I want, when I leave the area of talking with people, that they actually feel very comfortable. They too can go out and do something. Because say, for example, and I love my happy hair, there's an anti-bully pledge. So I get the children to actually talk about the pledge. So when they leave, they know that I have encouraged them. It's just kind of stir their soul just to know that they're not to tease other people about their hair, because the way your hair grows out of your head is the way your hair grows.
Exactly. That
And
was
it's
the
the
way it
way
was
it's
meant to
supposed
be.
to grow.
Yes,
Absolutely.
exactly. Now you retired as a colonel, as an Army colonel. Thank you for your service, one better
Cool.
than another.
Exactly.
But I wonder, because growing up in a military environment and then living in a military environment for 23 years, I saw a lot where young African American girls especially maybe did not feel as good about their skin color because they're around so many different nationalities and so many different cultures. And sometimes, at least I've noticed it a lot in the last duty station where I was, is that sometimes the Black boys seem to gravitate toward the girls that were different nationalities. There were very few Black boy and Black girl relationships that I saw. There were a lot of mixed relationships. So I'm wondering if you may have seen the same thing. And I'm wondering if that was maybe a part of why you decided to go this route with helping young girls to feel good about their skin color, to feel good about their hair and so forth.
I would not necessarily. A lot of my books actually stem from articles I wrote, and I'm going to kind of go back to I Love My Happy Hair. Like I did an article on speaking out about Black women hair in the marketplace. So when it came to the colorism, because then she speaks out about diversity, I did an article on colorism. And so as I'm speaking to adult women, because that's my area of Black women in mental health, wellness, I also, in understanding the literature and the research, I said, well, these women were once young girls. So how can I reach back and talk to young girls or young children about it? And so that's really became the platform in terms of why I did that, so that I can have a tool that I can take into the schools and into the communities, into the churches, to talk to young people, to celebrate. Because as you begin to study and research that, it just doesn't start at the moment that they are an adult. It starts early on with the message that we get about the pigmentations of our skin. Because when I was growing up, there was a saying, what is it? If you Black, get back. If you're brown, you can
white
stick
is
around.
right, brown, you can hang around or something like that.
Right.
And so
And if you
you're
get
starting to
back.
receive these messages early. And then you
Right.
think back to the Mamie Clark, study. There was a husband and wife team, the psychologists, and, about the doll study. And so when they would look at the colors of the doll, they would say, well, they was dressed alike. Only thing that was different was the color of their skin. And so you had young children saying, that's an ugly doll. And what made that doll ugly? And so when you start to look at the media, when you look at Spike Lee movie School Day, so this is historically something that has been ingrained in our community. If you have a certain texture of hair or you have a certain look, then you're not considered to be pretty. And so when you think about how the world has been Europeanized, colonized, what's seen as beautiful. And so we have to start very early to deconstruct these messages and say, once again, the skin you're born in is beautiful, is pretty. And so that's what happened. But that book does have the father in that book, because I have sprinkles of truth, even though it's fictional, is a military person, and the young girl does travel around and does experience. So you could have picked up on that. So I do put elements in that, because she's been to a lot of different places and her color of her skin had not been accepted.
One thing I really remember about that, well, I don't know if it was the Clark study, because it was in color, and the Clark study was would have been much earlier.
Yeah, but black and white.
Video.
They have replicated.
They replicated it, and you could see when the person who was asking the questions about the dolls would say something like, which doll is bad?
Mhm.
Which,
Right.
and which doll is pretty and which doll is ugly. And when it's a little black girl who's brown skinned
Mhm.
and she picks the doll that would basically be her match as the ugly doll,
As the bad doll.
that's
Yeah.
that's really deep seated. That's really sad
Mhm.
and it's tragic, really, because that's really how she sees herself, or she thinks other people see her that way.
And we have
And
to
a
look
lot of
at
times they'll
externally.
respond that
Mhm.
way. People will respond to her based on that. That's her perception. And kids pick up on things at a very young age.
But we
It's
also have to look at externally the message that is being sent. So where
Right.
does this child get this message from? So it just isn't just like born into the world and think that, but everything about the individual the world might tell them that the way you look, your hair. So we as Black people have been policed, if you think about it, from the top of our head to the bottom of our feet in terms of how we look. Because if you think about it, what other group has a bill? They passed the Crown Bill, remember, back in
Right.
California, creating a workplace that you can say that you can actually wear your hair the way your hair
It grows
actually
out of your head.
because it was socially accepted for the only time you had to have straight hair. And so what that really meant is the closer you look to what white America considered to be beautiful, then you would consider to be beautiful. Even when Bo Derek, I believe, played in the movie 10, I didn't see it, she wore braids. I was like, oh, that's the first time braids. We know that's not to be true. That Cicely Tyson, there were several women that were wearing braids, but it was once that gives it that level of validation. So being able to go into and talk to young children about these various elements, whether it's about their hair. I also have a book on Little Miss Linda Goes to Counseling, because it's all tied into people's mental wellness. So if I don't feel good about myself, I don't think that I'm pretty, I think that my skin is not the right color, then if I want to move in that direction, then I'm going to do something about that. And so then that came the bleaching cream. So you had people begin to bleach their skin, because the closer I can get to whiteness, then I'm right, because white is right, if that's the message that you believe. So now we having this movement that people say, oh, they're moving toward the natural. But people did that back in the 60s. They began to wear their hair natural.
It cycles.
Yes.
One thing that you didn't have, the locks. There might have been locks somewhere, maybe in New York, but I didn't see locks until much later. I don't even know if I saw braids, individual braids, like we would do cornrows.
If you look at the history of African-American hair, because you have to remember that our hair did not start in 1619, because a lot of times when the slaves came over, they had kinky hair. They actually wrote a book, 500 Years Without the Comb. And so their hair was matted. And so that's where the whole thing of dreadlocks came. So they would actually shave their hair. But hair had a way of communication back in Africa. So they would sit there and literally braid their hair. You knew if a woman was married, you knew if they were going off to war, you knew if there was a widow. You also knew what tribe they came from, sometimes by the way that they wore their hair. And so the hair, they were doing various things, if you look back historically, about hair.
Yeah, hair is a very, very emotional thing. I mean, even when a woman in this day and age decides to go natural and she has to cut all of her hair off, often she doesn't feel beautiful until her hair grows back in. It's very, very hard. It's very, very emotional. When we were growing up, we wanted like you said earlier, we wanted our hair to be silky like we saw the other girls. We didn't know how to embrace our hair. And we're just learning how to do that, which is a great thing, that we're just learning how to embrace our hair in whatever state, whether it's short, whether it's long, or what have you. And I have a friend who had alopecia. She shaved all of her hair off and she's gorgeous. I mean, it's skin up there, but she is absolutely gorgeous. And I just think that books like this it would help our young girls at a young age to embrace their hair instead of waiting until they're in their 20s, 30s, and 40s to do that.
Right. I agree. One of the positive developments over the last 10 years or so has been that the products, the natural hair products, that market has really expanded and exploded. And there are many Black-owned companies offering natural, organic hair products that, that don't damage your hair, that are not just duplicates of what other cultures use on their hair, which doesn't work for ours because it's a different type of hair. So there's several Black-owned companies. My daughter's very, and she does a lot of research on that. And she did the big chop, and then she was doing different styles. And now she just wears it very short with the part on the side. And it looks really good on her. She gets a lot of compliments. She said she just got tired of dealing with her hair. She has long hair. So she just got tired of it. It was too much work. She was spending her whole weekend doing the shampoo.
Oh, it is a lot now. I'm not gonna lie. I enjoy
deep
my natural hair, but
conditioner.
it's a lot. But now, Dr. Holloway, are you taking your books into schools? Are you reading to the young kids?
Absolutely. And obviously when COVID happened, that kind of restricted, in terms of movement. But at the same time, whenever we look at things, especially coming from the military, we try to see what course of action can we take and what's the positive aspect. So even being online, I do some Zoom in the books. It allowed for a broader audience because, as you know, once you are strategically placed in one particular location, if I go to school X, then that's pretty much where I am. But on a Zoom, you can invite in other different people and things such as that nature, such as what you guys are doing on this platform. Because I'm in the great state of Alabama, here at Alabama State University. I want to shout out Alabama State University.
Yes, you are a professor there.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Now, are you a professor of counselor education?
Absolutely.
So you teach people how to become counselors.
Absolutely. And so the topics of my books, like I Love My Happy Hair, Little Miss Linda Goes to Counseling, Little Miss Linda Speaks About Sickle Cell, Little Miss Linda Speak About Rape, which most people think that's a pretty tough topic to talk about, but you do not get into the details of it because she blacks out. And I really share with people, we have to start early on because once again, Black bodies have been, have been taken advantage of. So we have to talk about good touch and bad touch. And then Little Miss Linda Speaks About Diversity, which I deal with colorism. And one of the great things about it is I'm able to incorporate this into my classroom because counseling has something called bibliotherapy, like poetry. So how can you use, of course, we don't tell clients, read a book and then you'll feel good about it, but you can have discussions around it.
Wonderful.
Okay. So you live your life, your motto is always willing to serve. Now, is that related to your time in the military or just in general?
Just in general, I actually grew up in Mount Bayou, Mississippi. I have Mount Bayou actually sprinkled throughout the book. That's a historically Black town in the great state of Mississippi. Those who have seen Women on the Movement, they highlighted that town. It's,
okay,
some people
I knew I had
consider
heard
the oldest town. And so we grew
yeah.
up in a Black community. We were taught to serve. I grew up on a farm with 6 sisters and 2 brothers. So I came out of a legacy. Oftentimes people want to know, am I the way I am because of the military? But I was that way before the military. The military just got to embrace that. And so we were taught sense of community and being able to serve. Because one of the things I'm doing now is actually, they started some freedom schools in the rural areas here around here. And so I really just been kind of going out and I give each child, once I perform the book and everything, because we have a lot of props and stuff, they all get free books. And so that would be a form of service, just getting the message out, because everybody can always afford, but that's another way that we can, render our service.
Well, unfortunately, we're coming to the end of our time, but can you please let the audience know how they can reach out to you if they want to support what you're doing?
Yes, I'm smiling because I'm new to all the different things in terms of social media, but right now you can email me at lettheholloway linda@gmail.com.
Okay. Well, I will
And
put that in the chat. We're gonna have to
And
get you a
speak, not
website,
with an
Dr.
S.
Holloway.
without an S.
Without an S, because I had to do a double take when I
I
looked
know,
at it.
I know. I
Okay.
tried it with the S. I think it's already taken, so it's not grammatically correct.
So
Oh,
we're,
that's
we're
how-
just
that's how
telling
I
you to
am.
speak. We're saying, Linda Holloway, speak.
speak.
And I do have a Facebook, but it's not, for one reason, it's not public. And so I'm still new to just.
Oh, we're gonna have to get you a website and a Facebook and all that. Well, I might have to call you later.
Yeah, I know. Never leave a soldier behind, right?
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
Doc, are you a doctor?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Dr. Holloway, I wanted to give you your props. Thank you so much for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV, and continued success with your books, that you're changing the world for children with all the different topics that you are covering in your books.
And thank you all so much for having me. And I really appreciate the wonderful work that you all are doing.
And thank you for being a part of the show. We really appreciate talking with you tonight.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Thank you. Speaking of which, we're going to get to our 400th guest
It's amazing.
in the fall, sometime in the fall. I don't know exactly which show, but it's sometime in the fall. It's 400 different guests. So if people have been on here more than once, they're not included in the count up to 400. So 400 different people we've talked to.
That's amazing.
So that is amazing, if I should say so. And we had all those words for all those different people, and all those different conversations where we could talk about whatever. So our next guest is a poet and an author, and his name is Neal Lander. He has a book called Love Story, but he also has a couple of other poetry books. I believe all of his books are books of poetry, but if not, he will let us know that. And he's joining us from the great state of Ohio, I believe, unless you're traveling. So, Neal, let me ask you to unmute. Welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
How are you?
We're doing great.
Wonderful.
And thank you for being a guest on the show. So are you joining us from Ohio?
Yes.
Dayton, Ohio?
I'm in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. Okay.
Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay. All right.
I'm from Dayton, though.
Okay. Your Dayton was on your information. But a lot of times when people are on the show, they're not where they live because they're on the road or, traveling, doing all kinds of things. People, sometimes they're overseas. So, we're excited about having you. And my understanding is that all of your books are books of poetry.
No, I haven't written any poetry yet. This must be a miscommunication. I just
Oh, okay. Because when I went online, unless there's somebody else with the same name.
Well, the name of your book is Love Story.
Love Story. Right? So what?
Yeah.
So what type of book is that?
It's it's kind of like drama.
Well, tell us about the storyline.
Well, the storyline is a young lady gets upset with her father because she finds out that her father had slept with one of her friends. So to get revenge, she gets with an older guy like her dad's age, and it ends up turns into a love story. It was unexpected, but she called herself getting her sugar daddy, but it turned into a love story.
Okay, now I just looked at the cover of your book.
Okay, Lizzie.
That does not look like a love story.
Do you have a copy of your book?
On the cover, see that?
Oh no, that doesn't look like love.
Now what he did is he cut his heart out of his chest to give to her to show his love.
Oh my.
I mean, metaphorically or?
Yeah, metaphorically.
Okay.
I'm about to say,
he wouldn't be able to
dead
still
after
do that and hand it to her.
Because that wouldn't be good.
You know,
He wouldn't be able to spend any time with her, so. Oh, okay. So she is trying to, is she trying to get a father figure as a lover, or is it purely from like showing her father, like, I'll show you, I'm gonna be with somebody that's the same age you are, similar age? Is that what the motivation is?
Yeah, in the beginning, that was her motivation. Yeah, in the beginning, and then it turned into something that she didn't expect, and yeah, it got kind of crazy in there.
So is this your first book?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You know, they show some other books. There must be somebody else with your same name that has books. Then, you know, there's more than one, you know, there's a lot of duplication among
Yeah.
authors' names. And
I mean,
so
yeah, you know that.
that's where I got the poetry from. I thought it was, because we research all of our guests, you know, before they come on, so we can be more familiar with what their work is. So
Right.
when did your book come out?
In February.
Okay.
All right, congratulations.
Now
Thank
hold
you.
it up again, because I couldn't see the title on there.
It's Love Story.
Oh, okay. See, I could only see the blood, and that's a sick. I couldn't see the words, and I'm like, okay, okay, well, you know, now that is something provocative, you know.
I mean, I went to a couple like book fairs,
Okay.
and that's what captures everybody's attention. It's like, what kind of book is that? That book cover. But that
Yeah,
was my
it's
intention.
provocative.
Yeah, that was my
Sometimes,
intention.
you know, a lot of people, there's been research on what motivates people to buy a book, to pick up a book, or to download a book. And the book cover is in the top 3 or 4. So now a lot of times, if it's a name that people know, like an author, where they sort of become a fan of that author, and they pretty much will read all the books that come out in the future, that's, you know, your fan base. But a lot of times when people are looking for something to read and they're scanning, they're browsing, the cover is what captures their attention.
Yeah.
And the topic, of course, that's another thing. The topic, the synopsis, the cover, a recommendation from a like-minded reader. Those are some, like, if I know someone who's like-minded in terms of what they like, then they recommend a book that's like, and since I'm an avid reader, I'm likely to get that book. So there are a lot of factors, and as a first time author, you tackle one of them, one that a lot of first time authors miss, because a lot of times people try to tell the story literally on their cover. They have 10 different, like,
Yeah.
clip art people. You know, you have a simple image that's provocative. That's important.
Right. It does capture people's attention.
Mhm.
So what gave you the idea for this story?
I've had like I'm not gonna really call it research, but like in my work and everything, I've talked with a lot of younger girls, and I've run across them. They talk that sugar daddy and all that stuff. So that's where I got the idea from, as far as the story. And I just had to put a twist on it, because I mean, you never know what you're gonna get when you go in. You have an ulterior motive, and it's not gonna be what you expected most times. You know what I mean? And that's basically what happened in this story.
Okay. You mean in terms of a relationship?
Mm-hmm.
If you have an ulterior motive, if you're not there because you like the person and there's something else motivating you, you know, loneliness. Some people are motivated by loneliness, and you know, you might end up with anybody. might not have anything in common. So, but you know, your title is simple. You don't say,
I wish I wouldn't have came out with that title though, but I didn't know. I didn't research the title, and it's 1,000 love story books. So,
but that's okay, because there's not 1,000 that's like yours, with a cover like yours.
Everybody's not going to tell the same story.
No. And you know that there's an old movie called Love Story that was like a classic romance from the 70s, that was like a major love story, and the name of it was Love Story. So it's But titles cannot be copyrighted. A lot of authors don't realize that. Nor can movie titles. So that's why you have movies with the same title, different movie, because you can't copyright the title, only the content. That's what you copyright. But the title, you might have. I found out after I wrote my first novel, which I only have one novel. I have 14 books, but only one novel. But I found out there was another book with the same title. My book is called The Genesis Files. And there's another Genesis Files out there, but there's not another Genesis Files by Gwen Richardson. So see, that's what the difference is. So there's not another love story by Neal Lander.
So
And your cover is distinct. Okay.
What got you into writing? I know this is your first book. Is this something that you've wanted to do for a while, or
Yes.
did the idea pop in your head? How did this happen?
Well, I've been wanting to write for years, and back in the 90s, I went to college, and my English teacher, our assignment was to write like a short story. And from the short story, he told me I should pursue that, but I never did. I thought about it. I said, I'm gonna do it, but I never did. And then when the COVID stuff came, I said, I'm not gonna procrastinate no more. I'm just gonna do everything I want to do. I'm gonna try to do everything I want to do that I said I was gonna do. I'm gonna do it. If I want to travel, I'm gonna try to travel. Try to do everything, and writing a book was one of those things. So, and then I'm now that I've started writing, I'm thinking like this is something that I really want to do, because I got 2 more books that I'm coming out with.
Okay,
soon.
well, you're getting started on them, huh?
Well, I'm almost finished.
Now, are they connected to Love Story, or are they completely standalone books?
Oh, just completely different.
Okay.
Okay, so you're
That's
not
what I'm
going
coming out
to
with. It's called Entanglement.
So are
my
they
goodness.
romances? Okay, where entanglement came from. It's not copyrighted, but people are gonna be thinking about the Smith family.
Actually, to be honest with you, the name I was gonna have with this book was called Messy, until I saw the interview and I heard the entanglement where I said, oh no, that fits better than Messy. So that's why
Yeah, well,
I stole it from them.
I agree with that. I agree with you on
Yes.
that. Now, why do you write fiction as opposed to nonfiction?
Because I could use my imagination. I can twist it. I can make it into something that, even though situations are real that happen like this, but I don't want to like make it like a real life. Maybe later on I might make a real life, but right now I'm just having fun, twisting stories up.
And that's good. You're just having fun. You're having fun writing your stories.
Yeah. Like I'll be at work, like I'm at work right now, but
We won't tell anybody.
but on my breaks when I'm not busy, that's what I do. I take my computer with me everywhere I go. So
Hey, do your thing. Do your thing. My computer goes everywhere, even on vacation. It's not a good habit to have, but it goes.
but you just have those thoughts. You have those thoughts at the unexpected time, like, oh, let me go put that.
Yeah, Gwen and I were in Philadelphia a couple of weeks ago, and where was my computer?
Yeah, it was. We shared the same room, and she had her computer. It was always there. And so one time, I didn't realize I thought you were gone, and you weren't gone. You just had left the room for a little while, and you said, if your computer is there, that means that you're there, because you take it with you everywhere you go.
Right.
Yeah. I don't carry my computer. I don't travel a lot, so I'm stationary for the most part. So I do my writing at night when it's quiet. I'm a night person, and so although you didn't really get to see that, Rhonda, on the trip because it was too tired. It was a lot.
Yes.
I was so exhausted by the time it was the end of the day, and I was so exhausted. All I did was get into bed. But I'm really a true, like from birth, a night person. So I like all my thoughts, my best writing, my best ideas for whatever I'm working on come at night. And it's quiet. Everybody's asleep. There's not the distractions.
Right.
And so everybody now. So you, Neal, you take your computer with you everywhere, so you might write wherever you are.
Basically,
If it's, if it's feasible. If it's not
Okay.
feasible, I might make a note in my phone, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I
then I
do
get
that.
to it
I
later.
I've done that before as well. No,
Mhm.
how do you feel you get your best writing done? Do you write at night? Do you write in the mornings?
Whenever I could get some peaceful time. It's kind of hard for me to get peaceful time. I got little kids at home, and I cannot do no writing at home. That's why I do a lot of writing at work. I get more peace at work than I do.
Well, yeah, if you have small children, that's hard till they go to bed. And then by then you're probably exhausted.
Yeah,
So,
right.
yeah, I don't have any
Right.
little ones. My daughter's 26. So that's it. And so it's quiet at my house. My husband, he's not noisy.
You can borrow mine anytime you want. If you long
Well,
for that.
no, thank you. I've already done. I've done all of my child raising. I have my husband raising 2 sons as well.
Now,
So
I did
I'm
want
done.
to ask you, your name on your book is Ill1.
Mhm.
Okay,
Oh,
so where does that come
okay.
from?
Maybe that's why I couldn't find it on
Oh,
Amazon. That was
yeah,
what it was.
I'm getting used to this because I'm writing as Ill1 and my name is Neal Lander. The Ill1 came from when I was a youngster, and I had a different type of lifestyle, and that lifestyle required me not to be using my name. So
Ah,
I was listening to LL Cool J, and my friends gave me that name.
Oh, okay. Hold up your book again, because I missed that totally.
Mhm.
Hold it all the way up so I can see.
there it
Okay,
is.
so at the
Right under
bottom,
love
what does
story.
it say?
Love story by Ill1.
Oh, okay. See, that's why I couldn't find it. I was, I was looking for Neal Lander, and I came up with poetry. That's how I thought you were a poet.
So why did you decide to go with Ill1 instead of your real name for your books?
Because I want to separate it, you know what I mean? Because
Makes sense.
to be honest, like these books right here is kind of some of them, it has like an erotic nature,
Mhm.
and it's all adult. But I've thought like into the future, and I might want to write some children's books as well for my kids, and then I'll use my name for that. You know what I mean? I don't want to.
Oh,
I want to
yeah.
be able to separate them.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. They have pen names for certain genres
different
that they
genres.
write.
For
Mhm.
different genres. They do. They do. And some people don't want people where they work to know that they have another career on the side, So they use a different name.
Well,
It's all kinds of reasons why people do that.
yeah, I had a bad experience passing this book out too, because I gave it to a young lady, and her husband thought that I was trying to come up on her because, why are you giving my woman this pornography? I'm like, it's not pornography. He just read the first page of the book and just jumped on that. So now I just warn people, it has some erotic touches to it. And most of my writing is gonna have some erotic touches, some dark touches to it, but that's not the whole story. That's just part of it. That's like the filler or whatever,
Yeah, well, some people do put that, like the explicit disclaimer on their books. I'm not saying you need to do that. I'm saying some people do that.
I might need to do that.
But then
so
some people don't do it. Some people don't do it, and then you open it up and it's bam, right in your face.
So are you saying you have some erotic areas in the book, Mr. Ill1?
Yes, ma'am.
So now how thick is your book?
It's like 100 pages. This is 100 pages on this.
So it's
like a short story.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's a quick read.
Yeah, we call that a
It's available
novella.
on Amazon. It's only $5. So
okay.
my
Yeah.
first book.
As Rhonda said, we call that a novella if it's fiction.
Okay. I didn't know that.
I did put the link to your Amazon page in the chat for anybody who wants to go find the book.
Okay.
I mean, people like quick reads. I think it's good that you did a novella because people just don't have the time that they used to, and everybody wants to read a short story and then get to the next thing. So I think it's a good idea that you did kind of a quick read.
Well, to be honest with you, it's very difficult. It was very difficult for me to make it into what it was. because I'm learning. You know what I mean? I know what I want to write, but trying to get that idea across to somebody reading it is
Right.
something that I'm learning to do. So at first, when I first put my ideas down, it was like maybe 20 pages. And then, you know what I'm saying, I talk with my sister and she's like, no, you gotta put more detail. You gotta. So that's what I'm learning how to do. So that's why it came out the way it did. But I didn't do it on purpose, to be honest with you, but that's how it came out.
Well, the more you write, the harder it's going to be to write short. I just published an anthology a few months ago, and I had some of the newer authors who were saying, "What's the page count or what's the word count again? I can't get up to 5,000 words. I can't get more than 3,000." And then I had the more experienced writers. I had to fuss at them and said, "I told you 7,500 words. You're gonna have to cut this."
Yeah, and that's how it's going too. The more I
So
do,
yeah,
like,
the
the
more
next
you
book,
write, the more you're gonna find yourself writing longer. So don't stop writing.
I love it. It just eases my mind. I'm gonna keep doing it.
And
Amen.
practice makes perfect. You know, the more you write, the better you'll get at it. I mean, the better you become with it.
That's what an author friend of
More you
mine
do.
told me. Because when I first was having the idea of doing it, I was like, I reached out to him, like, what should I do? You know, they like, just keep writing. And
Yes.
just saying that, the way it sounded, it was like being like a butthole or something. But that's just a straight fact. You just have to keep writing. The more you write, the better you'll get, and that's just how it goes.
Exactly. I mean, that's with anything. The more you practice something, the better you get at it. Think about sports. Think about acting. Probably what you do on your job. When you first started doing it on your job, you weren't as good at it. Now you're proficient at it, and you're probably training other people to do it. So you just have to keep practicing, no matter what it is that you're doing.
Mm.
Yes, I appreciate
And
it.
it's helpful to hear from authors, tips from authors and how they handle their writing, how they handle their writing gifts, and how they're a practitioner of writing. If you go back in some of our archives, especially last year's National Black Book Festival, which was entirely virtual, and there's like probably 30 hours of, it's a lot of hours, 30, but it's broken up. So the schedule is on there. There's a couple of workshops that might be helpful to you. That's what I'm saying. And it's, it's free. It's just accessible on our Facebook page under videos. If you go in there, you can see that. And because we keep all of our videos archived as long as Facebook allows. I'm wondering if there's a limit. Facebook has a limit in terms of time, how many hours, because we have a lot. We have this show for 2 years, every Tuesday, 2 hours. So you multiply that, that's hours and hours of content. And then when we did the book festival, that was hours and hours. So we have a lot of things archived that are free, accessible to the public, that aspiring authors or authors who want to get better. And as an author, you always want to get better. No matter how many books I've written, I always want, to have a high level of quality. And I want people to, after reading the book, feel like they gained something, whether it's, they learned something, they were entertained. It was for that purpose. So if you just keep writing, keep getting better. And the thing about writing is you can do it forever, as long as your mind, you still got your marbles. So you don't have to retire from writing. You can still write as long, as you're living, as long as you still got your marbles. So,
But you did say that you were almost done with your second book, correct?
Yes.
Okay, well, when do you plan to release that one?
Probably within the next month or so. Right now, I'm working on the book cover, because like this book cover I did with the help of my 13-year-old daughter. She made the fake blood for me. It's a fake tattoo. That's actually my arm. It's a fake heart.
Oh, wow. So that's a picture. That's not a drawing.
No, that's a picture.
Oh.
But what I did was like people said it looked too nasty. But then I made it into like a cartoon with the effect of a cartoon.
Right.
So it wouldn't look so graphic or whatever. But that's what I'm doing. Like right now, I'm doing all my own book covers. Can't really afford much more anyway. So.
Well, you can, if you're interested, there's a couple of websites that where you can find inexpensive book cover design. One of them
I
is
design
called,
my own book covers on Canva.
you do. Some people do. I mean, I'm not artsy, so I try to stay in my lane. You know, that's not my area. But some people do, and some people are good at it. But you know, Fiverr has inexpensive book cover design. It's the word 5 and then rr.com. And you can find somebody relatively, when I say relatively inexpensive, under $50. Now, if you want something, you want to spend more, you can find other people that can do more. But, let's say you just want to change up a little bit and you want to do something a little different, you can go on there. Rhonda, you are good at the video and layouts and graphics and that. She's good at that. I don't do that. I hire professionals. I don't even try to do it.
Everybody does it. That's what makes
everybody has
go
something
around,
different,
right?
but Rhonda's good at it. She'll be making videos and all
I'm
kinds
behind
of
on my video
flyers,
making.
doing stuff. And I don't even try because my stuff wouldn't turn out. But I can do something that's simple, like on PowerPoint and turn it to an MP4. I can do that, but I leave it to the professionals. But that's good. One thing that's good that you said, it's good to have your children involved in your projects. It's something for them to do and be proud of. And you can work on it together. That's good. My daughter and I wrote a book together. So it's good when you can involve your children in your creative work.
Yeah, because she wants to read. I'm like, no, you can't read it, but you can help me make the cover.
How old is she?
13.
Oh, okay, yeah, she will. But it's good that she can help you with that.
Right. Keep them. Always make it a family affair. I did that with my own daughter. When I first started writing, she would go on book signings with me and help me to sell the books. She'd tell people that she wrote the book. they believe her. They wouldn't believe her, but they'd buy it anyway.
Yeah, it's good to get your children involved. Yeah. One of my stepsons created all of our logos for all of our business logos. He created the logo for Black Authors Matter TV. He does all of our logos. He's artsy. And then my other stepson is technical, and he does the media management for this show.
Wow.
So it's good to involve your children because they get to get skills. They get to get credits. They can say, I did it for this particular thing, for something they want to do later on. And I think it makes them feel good. That's what I think.
Right. So unfortunately, we're running out of time, but if you can go ahead and let us know how we can reach out to you, how we can support your books. So that way we can keep you encouraged and you can continue giving us these great stories.
Well, I appreciate it. Like my books right now, they're available on Amazon. I did them through KDP. But I also have a Twitter account. It's called ill1_Cowboys. I have a Instagram account. It's ill1 in Cincy. With a Y. So you can just reach out to me there and see what's going on with me. I'm keeping it going. I'll be dropping this next book here pretty soon. So I'm working on the book cover. So I get the book cover done, I'll be ready.
Okay. And the name of your book is Love Story.
Yeah, this one's Love Story. The next one is Entanglement.
Entanglement. Okay. Well, Neal, thank you so much for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV. And congratulations.
I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you, ladies.
Oh, thank you.
Beautiful experience.
You have a great one and stay encouraged. I'm looking forward to reading your story.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm going to check you guys out too.
Please do.
I love to read, so that's right up my alley.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
We both have multiples.
Yes.
All right. You have a good evening.
You as well. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Good night.
Night night.
Okay. Well, That was first time author Neal Lander. Writing is L1, which I still don't know how to spell exactly. Did you see?
ILL1.
Oh, ill, like, oh, okay. See, I'm thinking
Yeah. You
the
know, back
letter
in the
L.
back in the day when when we said something was good, we said it was ill.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, I think it's great. People can get their feet wet. And, COVID birthed a lot of books. A lot of people were writing during COVID. So, and I think it's reflected in the marketplace. There's so many new books out and coming out, all of that. So our next guest, we have two bookstore owners for our final two segments of the show. And the first one is joining us from Inglewood, California. And his name is Malik Muhammad. And he is the owner of Malik Books. And he has two locations. So that's exciting. And it looks like he's at his bookstore now.
Yep.
We need your sound.
Okay,
And-
sure am. I am at the store. In fact, I
Okay,
need.
well, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. It looks like your store looks beautiful.
Thank you for having me as a guest. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for
And
being here.
And well stocked. Looks like you got lots of inventory.
Yeah. That's a still photo right there. But I am in the store.
I thought that looked like a green screen, but
Okay. Well, you know
is
what?
that a picture of, is that a picture of your store though?
Yeah, that's a picture of the background of the store.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I'm doing my interviews, depending on where I'm at, I use that.
You should. Hey, that's great. That's great. So,
Yeah.
Malik, tell us when did you first open your first store? And you have two locations, and they're both in malls.
Yes. See, I switched it over.
I see that.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
a
so
live
now-
view. All right. I say, since I'm in the store, let me show the live view.
Okay. Oh, okay. So this is the live picture now.
Yeah, this is the live picture.
Oh,
I want you to
okay.
see.
All
Look,
right.
look. See, look at that. Look at that. I'm
Okay.
about to give you a 360
Okay.
of a taste of Malik Books. That's
So
right.
So you have all kinds of stuff.
I hope your audience I hope they love what they saw, because we got Black excellence all on them shelves.
I see
Oh my
that.
goodness, you are hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here. But you
Well,
asked
you're
about
welcome.
Malik Books. My journey started in 1990. I
Okay.
became, I got, every week, every month, and every minute, I got to claim my journey as a book activist, because I use books to make change in the community. I use books to uplift my community. I use books, to make matters that are important matter, and that journey started in 1990 because books changed my life. So I wanted to use books to change other people's lives as well as the community. So I've been out here, for some decades now. I've been part of the Black Book Revolution that started in the 80s, late 80s and 90s, when over 200 and something Black bookstores all across America popped up. I was part of that I call it the Black Book Revolution.
Okay.
You might not have heard of that term, but the Black Book Revolution made it possible for Black authors to have a place to place their published books that were not published by mainstream publishers.
Right.
So we had the outlet to help distribute these independent and self-published books. And that's how I got started, because most of these books on the shelf might be published now by the mainstream publishers, but back in the 80s, they didn't have a lot of inventory. They didn't have a lot of books. Black authors wasn't. And let me tell you who was the catalyst.
Okay.
The Terry McMillan book, Waiting to Exhale, is what opened up mainstream authors to get contracts from major publishers. Her book, Waiting to Exhale, prove that Black people read, and more importantly to them, dollars.
They will buy that. They will buy books. Yeah, I've heard that from other people too. So
Yes.
now I see a book on your behind you that I'm reading right now.
Which one is that?
Memphis.
Oh, Memphis. Okay, Memphis. Yes,
by
yes.
Tara Stringfellow. I'm not that far into it.
Okay,
but it's gotten good reviews.
You might have to have me do a book review on my podcast called Malik's Bookshelf, bringing the world together with books, culture, and community. I don't normally do fiction unless it's historic fiction. I like typically to do book reviews on nonfiction, and because I want to distribute information that can be helpful. So like the last episode I just did is on buy back the block. We in a, people tippy-toeing, but we're in a recession right now. It's inflation, recession. They're trying to, they can play games all they want with words. But listen, when you don't have 2 quarters of no growth, they always consider that a recession. Now I'm paying about $7,000-8,000 extra every year, I can tell, based on this inflation, just to pay for the same things a year ago. Right. So the thing is, I did buy back the block, and that's about books about how to become, be good with your money, be thrifty with your money, budget with your money.
Okay, so let me ask you something, Malik. Have you heard of a book called Why African Americans Can't Get Ahead and How We Can Solve It with Group Economics? Have you ever heard of that? I haven't heard of
that, but that sounds like a wonderful book I would love to have on my shelf. That's the kind of title that is very important. I love that because economics is one of the biggest areas that we need to improve in. My favorite book is Powernomics by Dr. Claude Anderson, because it deals with economics. That's an area that we need to make a bigger impact. And the way we spend our money, what we're doing with our money, and how we can enrich with the money we already have, $1.5 trillion.
Well, that was my very first book that I wrote.
See? Yeah, that's why
I asked you.
Right.
And I'm on book 14. But when I wrote that book, I was on a church in Memphis invited me to speak. They had a whole weekend just on economics, and I was the speaker along with Claude Anderson. We were like the 2 speakers for that weekend. So that was my first book, and it came out in 2008. It still sells because the information is timeless in it.
Yes,
and it is. Since you like nonfiction, that's why I asked you It actually made the Essence bestseller list for a couple of editions of when they were still doing that.
Okay, well, it should, because that's a milestone. Their book is a milestone. Your book should be popping off the shelves. I mean, your information, especially going into this research, you got to pound that pavement. You got to let the streets know. It might. You said it's 2008, right?
Yes, that's when it came out.
Well, that information.
But it's available. But what I'm doing, what I'm focusing on now is writing children's books, teaching children how to be entrepreneurs. So that's what my focus has been for the last 3 years, is doing children's books.
Focusing on the youth, because children are 100% of our future. Look at that right there. Children are 100% of our future.
Amen. Yes,
Amen.
they are. And they're they will learn. You can teach them.
Yeah.
They'll receive it and learn a lot. Once people get a certain age, they get closed-minded to new concepts. And it's hard to change behaviors in adults. But children, you can really train them.
More impressionable.
Think
more influence.
Entrepreneurial. And so that's something that I've been working on. So let's hear more about your stores and why have you always been in malls?
No, I started out on the corner of Crenshaw and King. Well, actually, I started out on Manchester and Figueroa, which is, it's right there where the East splits with the West out here in Los Angeles. But, that wasn't, when you go in business, you really learn why you on the job doing it, because you got to make your mistakes in order to grow. So I came out of college, I got a little money, I opened up a bookstore, but I opened it up in the area that, they buy some chicken, but they wasn't interested in buying no books. So location is important.
Oh, yeah.
When location is very important when you in business. And so you got to identify your demographics, but you also got to identify the location. So I had to open up a little bit more west where I could, afford to be in a place where people would be more interested in buying books, because, for me to get them to visit Malik Books back then took a lot of marketing dollars, and radio was expensive, and all these other outlets, newspaper was expensive. And I had enough to open up, but I didn't have enough to market. So that just wasn't going to work. So I had to go somewhere, because people move like schools of fish. And what happens is I said, well, let me just set up close to where the fish are already traveling. And then I can cipher off, some economics. And so they go to the malls, they go, Crenshaw area, Mark Park, Baldwin Hills, Crenshaw. I sit right there. I set up right there at a bus stop, right there, a very popular and urban location where just a mile up, you got the expensive homes, and a mile the other way, you got the lower expensive home. But that was a good spot to set up, and I set up there in 1990, and from there I moved into the mall, which was across the street.
Okay.
And so that's what began my journey inside of the mall, was in 94, the historic Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall, which is the mall that is the oldest in America. And I started in there in 1994, but like I said, it's the historic mall because it's the oldest mall in the country. And so it's going through some transitions now, but that's the heart and soul of Malik Books, because that's where I began. Right here, when I did my 360 and I showed you this wonderful, beautiful marquee store here at the Westfield Culver City Mall, that's, I call that the body of Malik Books. That's like my signature marquee store.
So this is your flagship location.
Flagship. It's my flagship. Community lovers, the mall lovers, we bring in diversity here at this center. And, our voice is being amplified here, because I like to say Malik Books give voice to the voiceless. Why? Because we amplify our voice here. This is Black excellence on these shelves. And our history and our culture has helped this country become a great. There's no successful America without Black people. Black people voice have been silent, but Black people have helped this country become great and benevolent. And so we help to make sure we write the record straight at Malik Books.
Now you mentioned a couple of times 1990. You said that's when your journey began. What was it that just really sparked? Because you said books saved your life, but what was it in 1990 that said, this is what I'm going to do?
Well, I came across some information, and this wise man said to me, don't believe me, go out and do your own research. And I had a college degree from USC. I had a degree, but I didn't have a knowledge of self. Didn't know the Black man and women were the first human beings on the planet, but I had a degree. I didn't know Black people built pyramids. I didn't know Black people, taught the world math, science, art. I had a degree. I ain't know nothing of that. So I read those things to find out. I thought he was telling a falsehood. But I went out and did my research. I brought books like, The African Origin of Civilization by Chinq Anta Diop, who went through, I brought books that talked about, our history and our culture. I went out and brought books by J.A. Rogers, Africa Gifts to America, World's Great Men of Color. I said, what? Beethoven was Black? and all these great Black men and women. And I was like, man, so I felt some kind of way. It sparked a change in me. And I said, man, if I didn't know this and I had a degree, well, I think the majority of our people are not aware of it. So I was inspired and sparked to want to open up a bookstore because I wanted to make a difference, because the difference, I saw the change in me.
Yes.
So that was the motivation, you know. So I began to study and do my research. And so out of that came Malik Books.
Awesome.
Well, you definitely withstood the test of time because your store is one store that's closing soon that's in California.
Come on, Eswan.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's the one.
Eswan.
Yes.
What, you know,
They've
now
been
that you
around
brought,
35 years. You all probably opened around the same time.
yeah, they opened up just before I did. And that's where I brought my books. That's where I went to Eswan
Okay.
when I began my journey, before I
Okay.
opened up Malik Books, to buy my books what could help me to, you know, research our history and our culture. So, you know, Malik Books, you know, that's why Eswan what always is going to mean something to me. And I always going to value their contribution and their legacy because, you know, 3 decades they've been around, going on 4, and they have helped many people change their lives, you know, and make a difference in their lives. And I know that I'm one of them, and I brought my books from them. And so they probably didn't even know the impact that they made on me when I brought the books. But I would not have been motivated if it had not been for, you know, a wise man that taught me certain things, that said to me that Black people were the original people of the planet Earth. And I would not have been sparked to go and buy books, read, and change, you know, the way I see things and have a different perspective, you know. So I'm indebted, you know. We don't get to where we got on our own. It's because other people before us paved the way. And sometimes we don't acknowledge these people as we should. And so that's the kind of impact that you can make on someone, not even know it.
Now, I'm guessing that this store has helped you to pass that on to the next person. You're paying it forward.
I'm paying it forward because I get people here all the time. I've had former employees come in and say, man, I just brought 65 acres in Arkansas or New Mexico. I get a chance to hear, you know, these success stories. I just graduated from college, or I just got my trade certification as a plumber. You know, I'm going to work for myself, you know. So these are the kind of stories, because people come in here all the time. They cry. They start praising God. They give us many thank yous for being here, and the impact, you know, is a blessing to be doing what I'm doing. And sometimes you don't see the impact that you're doing, and because you don't get the results when you want them. You don't see the benefits when you, and so you get discouraged like anybody else. You know, you have ups and downs, and you have those moments, and you have those challenges, you know, that you have to overcome, because, you know, they come with the territory when you're trying to do for self, when you become an entrepreneur, when you become a business, you got to get through those, because all adversity is part of any struggle that you're going to be part of.
Yeah, being in business is not for everyone. Yeah, I've been in business similar amount of time as you. Not in this business, 23 years, but I'm a serial entrepreneur. I wanted to be in business since I was 15. So it was just in me. But I wanted to ask you some questions about a couple questions on two different topics. You know, the book business, because I had a brick and mortar store for 10 years. And so when Amazon came along and then people started downloading books on the Kindle, it affected our business, and we were already online too. So we just shut down the brick and mortar store and then geared more toward marketing. But how have you been able to, that's part of being a longtime bookstore. You have had to go through a lot of peaks and valleys with the economy, with trends. How have you been able to ride that wave? Because it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down.
I say that life is like a heartbeat. You got the highs and the lows, you got the valleys and the mountains, right? So, hey,
Yeah.
you know, I feel everything you just said, and we've had our challenges over these decades to stay afloat. And when Amazon came in, it changed the dynamics of the business. And, you know, they have put the large and the small out of business.
They have.
Know?
Because Borders used to be a big company.
Yes, yes.
Borders was the Black author's friend. You could always get a book signing at Borders and do well.
Yeah. They, you know, Borders, the smaller ones, Walton Crown, many black bookstores.
Yeah, Crown. I remember Crown.
You remember Crown?
And there was one in malls, and it was Walden Books. But there was another one in the malls, wasn't it? That was like a bookstore.
It was Walden and Crowns that were in a lot of the malls.
I thought it was another one. B. Dalton.
B. Dalton,
you remember B. Dalton? They don't exist anymore as far as I know.
Well, you know, we, like any other business, you know, you have to prepare for the change, and technology has changed the industry.
Yeah.
And we've had our challenges, and we've made, and there were times when I just went strictly online and left and you know, I've been in many locations. I might have been there 30 years, but I've been in many locations.
Oh, okay.
You know,
okay.
I moved around many places in the mall. You see what I'm saying? And there are times I closed and then came back. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
And so, but I've done online. I've did other, you know, I've done events, you know, because sometimes I focus on doing more events. Sometimes I focusing on the sales inside the store. But overall, the biggest sales since the internet has been a major part of the transition of sales of books. So we spent a lot of emphasis building out that, you know, that reality. And so our online business is very big because we made that transition to help. And that takes the heavy lifting a lot of times off of the retail end of it for a brick and mortar. So it's, you know, so we have like 4 entities that we generate revenue. One is our brick and mortar. We got 2 locations. The other is we have an online website, malikbooks.com. And so we're able to partner with influencer, major authors, such as, like right now, some of our campaigns we doing is we have it's one of the few bookstores doing an exclusive book signing autograph by Tabitha Brown. Her new book is coming out, you know, Cooking with the Spirit, I believe. And so we're one of the stores. It's only about 6, but we one of them. And that, you know, but those sales are generated online. We're also doing Unbound by Omarion, which is we are the only exclusive book seller. So we work in conjunction with Omarion to do sales, but it's all online. And that's an autographed book. And the other one is Kevin Stage and his wife wrote a book called Marriage Be Hard. And so we're the exclusive local bookstore for him. So finding ways to work with authors directly and because they have influence, you know, and they have a following. And so that doing things like that and then making those sales online is allowing us to continue to thrive and crunch those numbers, and it takes the pressure off of the retail locations oftentimes. So we have the online, and then we have our 4th entity, which I created I put together in 2021. And when the pandemic hit, I said, you know what? I know a lot of things want to take place outside. So I need to create a bookmobile. So I launched my bookmobile, Malik's Bookmobile, in February during Black History Month. And we did book fairs at local elementary and middle schools. So we done book fairs, and so that was
Okay.
a huge hit. And then from
Mhm.
there, and then as a result of doing those book fairs, we were able to network with teachers and administrators, and then that parlayed into purchase orders and all kinds of things. So it's just been
Right.
a blessing.
Okay. So yeah, you have to really be creative. You have to think outside the box. You
And I
know,
noticed that you have a very
Yeah.
large following on social media. I went to your Instagram page. You have over 18,000 followers on Instagram.
Yes.
And your Facebook page is pretty large as well.
Yeah, social media. I use social media. I just started 2 years ago, but I use social media because, and I try to put good content or creative content. You know, I find little ways to, because we do host a lot of events, but I also try to find ways to create innovative content to like motivate people to read, to make it fun, you know. And so the Instagram, the social media, that's a major part of our marketing strategy. I didn't see that until the pandemic, because when the pandemic hit and we had closed our doors, you know, the malls were shut down, and we had a website. We wouldn't at that time, it wasn't generating a whole lot of sales, but then the murder of George Floyd happened, and that's when we got a surge, when people wanted to start support Black businesses, and we began, they tagged us as one of the bookstores here in Los Angeles. And so it was just a blessing that started snowballing, you know. So some good happened from something that was tragic and unfortunate. But some good happened because many Black people and Black businesses were able to get a leg up as a result. So nothing happens in vain. You know, we were able to just blossom as a result, you know, of such a horrific, you know, murder. But at the same time, many Black people and Black businesses were, whether it was restaurants, bookstores, you know, clothing, had just, you know, begin the recycling the Black dollar movement started, you know, from his death. And so his murder, that is. But that's when I started using social media. That's when I started like using the algorithms to send out content. And you know, that little button to say boost. So I started boosting. I started sending out, you know, creating a commercial and content, and then I boosted, and it was getting really good feedback from that and sales from that. And so it began to grow from then on. And I realized, you know, because a friend told me a year before I started doing it, to use those algorithms on social media. They really are beneficial to your business, you know. But it wasn't until during the pandemic that I started to play with that. And from there, I was sold. I was like, oh yeah, that's what.
So do you do your own social media? Did you bring somebody?
I manage it. You know, I primarily manage it. It's a full-time job.
It is. It really is.
I'm like,
I can do it.
It can be. It can be.
Ooh,
Well,
man.
you have to have constant content. Otherwise, because some people will have a page and they never post anything, and they wonder why. Not only do they not gain any followers, they lose the followers they have, because Facebook drops people after a certain amount of time. I don't know what their time limit is, but they drop. If you haven't been active on Facebook, they just drop you off of people's pages. And but you have to be constantly having new content, because people are there to see what's new, just like, you know, anything else.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, no, it's a major social media, you know, it's a part of our lives, this technology, and we need to use it for the benefit of our businesses and so forth, you know. And so, yeah, I definitely, if anybody is, you know, is not using social media and has a business, and you know, maybe you should do some research and look into it, because I think it could benefit, you know. Facebook is typically the main one I typically use. But Facebook, I'm sorry, Instagram is primarily the one I typically use, but Facebook own them. So, you know, what goes on Instagram goes on Facebook.
Exactly.
You know? Right. So, yeah, you can post stuff and it can go on both. And I find for us, Facebook is more of a money driver than Instagram. But we do have 85,000 people on Facebook. So that's we're building, we're babies on Instagram. We
Oh
only
yeah,
have
well that's huge. That's
yeah.
huge. See, I gotta figure out that Facebook though. Figure out that Instagram. I gotta figure out that Facebook.
Yeah, well, you have to pay Facebook, over time. That's,
Mhm.
that's just
Yeah.
the reality of it. But, you can build a solid audience. It sounds like you've done it. So we are at the end of our time, Malik. Let people
Oh, that
know
fast.
it goes
Yes,
by
that fast.
It
That
goes by
fast.
fast.
But let us know how we can find you. I mean, if we decide we're going to come through California and stop in LA to go visit Malik Books.
What we got 2 locations out here in Los Angeles, one in the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Plaza, which is the heart of LA. And then our other second location is at the Westfield Culver City Mall, and which is our marquee and our flagship now. And our Instagram is Malik Books, just like, and then we have our online, which is malikbooks.com. And also, if you want to hear good content on a podcast, we got Malik's Bookshelf. All you gotta do is go to malikbooks.com, and that's the first thing that's gonna pop up anyway.
Well, we did put malikbooks.com in the chat, so people will be able to find you, and we are going to check out that podcast, because if you are as hilarious as you are now, then it's going to be quite a listen.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate y'all.
All right, well,
Thank
continue
you.
success with Malik Books.
Absolutely. Black authors matter.
That's right.
Amen.
That's right. All right. You have a great
right.
evening.
You too.
Malik.
You too. Bye-bye.
And we hope to see you soon.
Absolutely.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.
Well, that was one bookstore that's in Inglewood, California, and that's Malik Books. And we have another bookstore in Portland, Oregon, and the owner is Charles Hanna, and I believe he owns it with his wife. But Charles is the one that's on, and it's called Third Eye Books. And we're going to find out what that means and how he started his bookstore. And so here he is, Charles Hanna from Third Eye Books in Portland, Oregon. Welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you so much. I'm glad I'm here. I was kind of nervous for a minute there. I was trying to think I need to go to another phone connection or to stay on this connection, but I'm glad I stayed here.
I'm glad you stayed too.
Yeah, we have to bring you on like when we're done with it. We try to time it exact, but it's not always exact.
That's cool.
So, yeah. So are you at your bookstore now?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am at the bookstore right now. We close at 6 o'clock on the West Coast, so I'm still here.
Oh, okay, because it's 8:30 here, so it's 6:30 there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, you started your bookstore in 2019.
Yes.
Was that a scary thing? Because you know what happened in 2020. So
Well,
you started the bookstore and then 2020 happens.
yeah, well, we started planning in 2018 to me and my wife just sitting at home, just thinking about a way we can get out of the rat race, embrace something that we love to do. And at the time, books wasn't even, it was still in there, but my wife was a big t-shirts and earrings, fashionistas, all those things. And so at the time, Natural Girls Rock was selling t-shirts and things, and they had a vendor's kit. And she put together little stuff. And so we set out for it. And we found out there's a local church in our neighborhood that was having a vending event. And we said, maybe we could try to sell some of these earrings and stuff. At the same time, I had a crate full of books of my own because me and my wife are big time readers. And so we put some books in a crate, and I'd say the rest is history. So 2018, we were like, okay, this is starting. So we started off vending at churches and community events. Not a lot of books, not a lot of books. 2019, the community said, do you guys have a store? You guys should have a store. And so we're like, okay, so we probably should get a store. But before that, we converted a back bedroom. We were doing things out of the back bedroom, meeting people in the parking lots at the 7-Eleven, but we still weren't focused on the books yet. it was all t-shirts and earrings. And when 2019, we were vending a lot of t-shirts and earrings. The books kind of picked up. At the time, my business mentor was stressing how I should start building my website because people are going online and people want to shop online for books. And I was kind of, I'll get to it. Well, I finally got to it in the fall, but 2019, at the end, we figured that, okay, we can probably make a move into a store location. But then we went on a trip to Egypt or Kemet in 2020 in February. My wife is a sacred woman under Queen Afua practitioner. So I went with 60 other women to Kemet and visited the 14 temples and sites and things. And we came back in 2020 in February. That's when we heard about the COVID then. And we didn't really hear anything about COVID overseas really. And we came here and it was a total shutdown. And we had to really scramble and do some different things. And luckily the community was engaged with us at that time a little bit. And a good friend of mine put my bookstore in a chat group. And at the same time, Brother Floyd, Sister Brianna, the whole country was in a civil uproar right that time. And people were looking for an outlet to learn some information in our area. And my website just started going crazy in 2020. And then we just haven't slowed down from there since we've been just trying to keep the ball rolling as far as literacy since 2019, actually.
Wow. So I know a lot of, and Gwen can attest to this, in 2020, and as you mentioned, people wanted to find out more information about race and race relations. Did you find yourself getting a lot of those sales where people were coming to you wanting to learn more?
Yes, people were looking for information. People wanted to find out what this anti-racism movement was. People wanted to figure out what this critical race theory was all about. And at the same time, people were trying to understand themselves a little bit better. What COVID did was made everybody sit down, and we was all on timeout. And a lot of people were doing some self-exploitation at the time, doing some self-help stuff. And so people couldn't go anywhere. So people were using the bookstore as the outlet because the libraries were even closed at that time. So people were trying to find materials to comfort them. And then what we do at our bookstore, we definitely have our classes, our James Baldwin's, our Toni Morrison's and stuff like this. And so we go deep in their range of books. And so people had a range to choose from out of some good authors at that time.
So where'd the title Third Eye books come from?
Third Eye is part of our awakening as an individual. Third Eye develops coming from the chakras that's aligned in the bodies. At the top is our third eye, which we are aware of things. It's like that gut feeling we have about don't go down that aisle, don't go down that dark alley. That's your third eye being awoke and let you know, don't go down that alley. The third eye is what people have been searching for to gain a higher understanding about themselves, the community, the world, and sometimes of things that can't be explained. Sometimes people have, certain abilities to tap into certain things that people write down and people want to explore those things. So third eye comes from a manifestation of someone's ability to gain to a higher level of consciousness.
Okay.
Awesome.
Now for most of we've had several bookstores on the show over time. Because we've had the show for 2 years.
Yes.
Every Tuesday. And I want to say we've had at least 10 bookstores, at least. But most of them started out with books and then added other things. And it sounds like you all did the opposite. You all started with other things and then added books.
Yeah, and then it was Third Eye books, accessories, and gifts. And then it made it real simple for our website is just Third Eye Bag, BAG, books, accessories, and gifts.com. So
okay.
Okay, books, accessories, and gifts.
I was wondering what the bag was for.
Yeah, the bag is books, accessories, and gifts. And I was
like that.
Put that all in there. Because typing out Third Eye books, accessories, and gifts.com,
it's too long.
it gets a little bit laborious after a while. And
Yeah.
then
Well,
Third Eye
well,
Bag.
the bag is kind of catchy. Third Eye Bag.
It is, it
Yeah.
is, and
And
it's
it's our
short.
Instagram site too. Our Instagram is real hot right now, almost 11,000, over 11,000 followers on our Instagram. So it's kind of gaining some traction of people because we're supplying a need that people are asking for.
That's great.
So now, do you do a lot of book signings at your store?
Yes. Well, our store is relatively small. We're about 500 square feet. So what we have the ability to do is to contract with other people in the community who have a bigger space than ours, such as we just did an event with the Alberta House, and we were fortunate and blessed enough to have Brother Resma Minikin, Quaking of America. He wrote My Grandmother's Hands, New York Times bestselling author. He came to Portland on his book tour, and we were able to do a book signing at another location. So that's one. And then we do book signings in our small store here, which you see of local authors, you know, authors who we can say there's going to be like 10 to 12 people on a constant basis. So if we want to have somebody that's like a resume can have 150, we can do that. But most of our book signings are real small and intimate with very community people at our store.
Okay, now it's Portland's Black community. What's the percentage or numbers? How big is it?
Portland Black community percentage is probably less than 5%. If
Okay.
it doesn't get over 10%, so it's relatively small.
And most of them are affiliated with the basketball team, right?
Well, here's the thing about Portland. A lot of folks have migrated here from the war. And the Oregon as a state is very peculiar in itself. I don't want to go into the history of Oregon because just like a lot of other states, it started off very racist. Oregon was one of the states that didn't allow slavery because they didn't want Black people here in the state. They had exclusionary laws and things like this. So the population has always been down here in the Northwest. But when the war happened, the Kaiser shipyards opened up and a lot of folks from the South migrated up here for jobs and employment. Once the war was over, because actually what Portland did was create a city called Vanport. It was a social service, it was an experiment of having Black and white people live together with their own community. They had their library, they had grocery stores, had everything. But it was flooded out. And since the Black population had to move back into Portland,
Wow.
it's been very small since then.
We haven't heard a lot about that. I'm gonna have to read up on that. You said it was called Vanport?
Yeah, Vanport, city of Vanport. It was the second largest city in Oregon at the time.
Wow.
Now, when you say the war, you mean World War II?
World War II, yes.
Because I know some people who migrated from Texas to Oregon around, their families moved in the 50s because one lady I knew had since moved back to Texas. And I was like, well, how'd you get to Oregon? And her family moved there, her parents moved there after World War II. So, and she said the Black people moved there. And, a lot of places that Black people migrate, we migrate in some numbers.
Yes.
We move, and then that creates a Black community wherever we went. And that's what the Warmth of Other Suns was about, but that was for the Midwest.
Yeah. We have our migration here for folks from the South. A lot of young folks, because the tech sector is real big here. We're the world headquarters for Nike, world headquarters for Adidas, headquarters for Intel. So a lot of big time employment opportunities here in Oregon. But like I say, if you're used to being around a whole bunch of Black people, when you move here, you're going to be around a whole bunch of white people here. So you really have to be able to adapt and adjust. And some folks, it's kind of hard to do that.
I used to live in Washington State, so I think I would get used to that.
Now, are you from Portland?
No, I'm a transplant. I'm from the Midwest. My wife is born and raised here. I've been out here for 25, almost 30 years. So I'm from Portland right now. All my children are born and raised here.
But your wife is from there.
Yes, her
so
family.
the both of you work the business full time?
Yes, my wife, and she's the one where I'm standing right here because it was her idea to let's do something, honey. And I jumped on her. Actually, I tell everybody this story about how I designed this bookstore to be after whatever she wants to happen. I explained this list. I know from history that people have always followed what Black people have done through history. They've always chased us. They've always found out. They've always mimicked us. Has always copied us and things like that throughout history. So I said to myself, if I'm going to start a business, it's going to be something that's stuff that my wife likes, because everybody likes stuff that my wife likes. And so doing my research, I knew that there were certain authors that people love. James Baldwin, Toni Morrison, Maya Angelou, Malcolm X. Those are staple books in our lives, me and my wife's lives, she likes. And then I just said, honey, what other authors do you like? Octavia Butler, all these people came out. And then what happens is everybody else likes those books that she likes. So I don't have to run around and chase a lot of things about how I want to structure this thing, because I always come in and think about, okay, if my wife gets excited about a book, I get excited about book. Other people probably could get excited about books. Our bookstore doesn't carry every book. I tell people, like, today there was about 12,000 books published that got released today.
Okay.
We probably got about 4 of them. And that's very intentful, because the 4 we got are going to make a difference in people's lives, because we just can't choose through everything else and things
Right.
like
You're catering to your market, and
yes.
as you should, because that's what you have to do as a business to stay around.
Right.
Here-
And I was actually going to ask that. So
Yeah.
let's say a reader comes in looking for a certain book and they can't find it. Can they request books through you?
Yeah, we special order out of those millions of books too, but our space is only so small. We procure and cater to Black authors, authors of Indigenous backgrounds, authors that are talking about relevance in our community and things that can help us. That's not saying we don't have no business books. That's not saying we have some other, religious titles and things like this. But what I tell people is we're going to really focus in on the things that we feel that's going to help us as a people, as a Black folk, as in general. So I know my Jawanza Kunjufu titles are going to be in there. My standard titles are going to be offered there. These are the books that kind of helped me throughout my life. I have those available. And then there's recommendations that we get from definitely customers. And then there's the books that we find, and there's the books that are out there. So, but yeah, somebody can come in and they want a Harlequin romance book, we can look it up and find it in order for them. We can have it shipped to the store or have it shipped to them.
Okay.
Awesome.
And one thing we find out too, being in Portland is a place where people like to come visit, because Portland is very peculiar. There's a big food cart hub around town. There's a buzz of this activism. The outdoors is wonderful. So we get people from all over the country come here. And a lot of times these people have never done business with Black people before. And so we have an opportunity to, as Brother Resman says, get some reps in with people who've never really had a chance to even talk with Black people. So we meet people from Minnesota, Vermont, Connecticut, and they tell us, they like, wow, we've never been in a place like this. And so we can start having some dialogue about conversations and things like that. So that's really exciting.
Wonderful.
So which items are doing well for you all?
I was
right
just
now?
going to ask the same question.
We always
Items.
complete each other's sentences. That's funny. But,
Okay,
which
well,
items are hot right now?
Okay,
Be they books or the other items that you sell?
Okay, well, Course 1619 Project, that was our #1 book from last year, still coming around this year, but a book that has got a lot of interest, a book that I can just hold up in a marketplace and say, hey, people, you know about this book, and people want this book, and that's this book right here. It's called The Portland Black Panthers. We had our own chapter of the Black Panther Party here in Portland back in the 60s. The founder, Mr. Kent Ford, he's still running around Portland all 79 years of his life. Still does 40 laps in the pool every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. So, but he's still engaged in the store, comes by the store, talks about the movement, talks about stories in here. And what's happening is a lot of young people are really interested in how the Panthers organize, how the Panthers capitalize on social capital, how they were able to build all this energy up and do something constructive with it here in Portland. So this is a big one. Another big title, of course, is the Black Panther graphic novel. Now, this just won an Eisner Award for the best graphic novel this year,
Wow.
and the author is from Portland. So David F.
Oh.
Walker, he's a local Portland author, writer, who comes to the bookstore, who signs copies of these books for folks, who talks about his other books and stuff like this. And so these are becoming two of our big sellers here this year, right here.
It looks interesting on the inside. Graphic novels are really taking off.
They
Yes.
really are.
Yeah.
That's a genre that's really exploding right now.
Well, that's what got me interested in my path in reading, was not graphic novels, but comic books. Because
Okay.
my mother was very sly and slick, because she told me at the grocery store, if I would act good and didn't act up, I could get a comic book. And so, of course, I was one of my Spider-Man, one of my comic books. And so I got my comic books. And at the time, I didn't think I was reading. I just thought I was just looking at these pictures, enjoying the thing. And then she said, you want some of these basketball cards and all these little cards. And I'm just reading all this information. And then she gave me that library card. That was my ticket to freedom there. And so I tell people that story is, comic books might be someone's entryway into literacy, into words, into imagination, into story time and things like this. So comics aren't just like this waste of time. They can build on some other bigger things. As you see, graphic novels are the same type of concept, but given a bigger storyline for young folk.
Right.
Right.
So that's right. Now, what about your other items that you have in the store? What else? What's some other hot sellers that you have among your other your gifts, your accessories, and your gifts?
Well, see, when people come in our store, they can experience a couple things. They're going to smell some incense burning. You know, it's like Big Mama's house. We got our incense going. We sell those. We have candles, essential oil candles going. We're into big metaphysical parts of life. So we have our pendants. We have some herbal apothecary going. We have some rose water. We have some stones. We have a little bit of something, everything. We're trying to.
You sound like a wellness store.
Yeah, and see, we're getting ready to open a second store up right next to us, and maybe utilize this more into our books, comics, and graphic novels, and open our wellness store right next to us. So that's going to be a 1-2 for the community right there.
Awesome. Yeah, I love going into stores, and God rest his soul, I went into the store back in Nashville, and yes, Yusef store. And I think I was so enchanted with everything else he was selling in the store. I didn't even get to the books because he has so many wellness items. So I mean, I feel like I would have that same experience if I walked into your store. I mean, I think he had everything from the shea butters and the powders to the different oils. And I was just picking up everything like, oh, I need this. Oh, I need that. I need this. I need that. And I think that's what I really love about Black bookstores, is that we do have those wellness items that you just don't find everywhere.
I'm glad you said that, because one thing we pride ourselves into is part of our logo name is the mind, body, soul part. And when you come visit our bookstore, we want you to be able to pick up something that's going to affect all three of those areas. And at the same time, we've had families come in here and everyone finds something for themselves. You know, we even sell African medallions. I don't know if you see my medallion.
Yeah.
So we sell African medallions. So Dad can have something, Grandpa can have something. We say the shea butter, of course, the books, the earrings, we got handbags, we got backpacks, you know, things like that. So the whole family can get something, but at the same time, people can feel like they're giving something back to the community too. So that's a lot of things. You know, we do a lot of vending events in the community. We stay active, we stay involved into what people are trying to get involved into.
I was just going to ask that, do you do a lot of work with the schools? Yes,
we just had 3 teachers staying here through the school year, because what they're looking for is information they can't find anywhere else. We are we are a small store where I'll tell you about our marketplace. Our marketplace is this. We have the world's largest independent bookstore in town and our small bookstore in town. So if you ever heard of Powell's Books is located here in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we just got the name of the second best bookstore in Portland right after Powell's Bookstore. So the big newspaper around here did a contest, did a submission for people to write in about their best bookstores in Portland, and we came up
Okay.
number 2. So I was
Well,
really happy.
congratulations.
Yeah,
Thank you, thank you.
congratulations on that. You know, I found when people like Black people go to different cities and they want to know where the places where Black people go, or bookstores are usually a destination for that. Because I know when we had our bookstore, it was the case. And then when we had our bookstore, the Shrine of the Black Madonna was also open in Houston, but it was 30 miles from us. So depending on which side of town you were on, you know, we would really share. They were still in Houston, but they were.
Well,
30
Houston
miles
is so big, you probably didn't even have to compete.
Oh, it was. We didn't, because they were downtown.
Right.
And we were on the northwest part. It was 30 miles. So no, we didn't compete. We helped each other a lot. You know.
That's
Yeah, we
wonderful.
worked
And
together.
that's the way it should be.
There's
For
enough
a
for
long
all.
time.
There's enough for all of us.
It is. So let people know
Okay.
how they can support Third Eye Books, accessories, and gifts, how they can reach you online and social media. And do you have any events coming up that the public might want to know about and maybe be able to support and attend?
Okay, great. Yes, you can find us online at www.thirdeyebag.com. That's our website. You can order books from there. You can submit a special request of a book you might not see on our website. We have access to millions of books, so give us a book submission there. We're located at 2518 Southeast 33rd Avenue, right here in Portland, Oregon, right off of Division. We're open from Tuesdays to Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Good way to interact with us online right now is on social media. If you're on Instagram at Third Eye Bag on Instagram, that's a great community. We're doing a lot of good things right there. Of course, on Facebook. We don't do Twitter that much, but Facebook and Instagram is our biggest social media hubs where we want to get folks to coming up. Online, something coming up recently. Let me check my calendar. Oh, not for anybody else, but what we got an invitation is to the Nap Ministry in Seattle this next coming up Sunday. We're looking for that. Nap Ministry is a place for Black people who are taking back the revolutionary thing called rest.
Oh.
Yeah, resting. So it's not a religious part. It's about Black people coming together and we're visualizing just what it means to be restful and taking back our own energy and empowering our own selves. Besides that, that's what me and my wife are doing. We just finished up a Vanport Jazz Festival as vendors this last weekend. So that was a 2-day event. Learned some good things about Black folks and books and stuff. I just know that we have to do as Black booksellers a lot more education on the nature and why people should buy books.
Right.
Let folks know that they should intentionally make it in their budget for a piece called liberation in their children. $50 can go a long way 10 years from now if you did invest it every month in books, because that way that's information they can't take from you and stuff like this. And so that's one thing. We got some other stuff around the city, but that's in September. We got an author event on August 31st at 1 o'clock in the store. Great sister's gonna come in and do some book reading of her children's book. So yeah, we'll be doing some things like that.
Sounds like you have a busy fall coming up.
Yeah, we have our calendar. So just stay with us on social media, and the work you folks are doing. Well, I just say thank you, because we need all the support. And for those Black authors, we want to let you know, Amazon isn't the only place where you can sell your books.
Right.
Let us know, contact your independent bookstore and see if you can do a book signing. But the biggest thing is you have to do your work too. Just don't want to come drop your books off on our counter and take off, because you're going to have to do some engagement and some works and some stuff that we want to do. We want to be able to support all the authors who got these great books, but we want you to come to us too.
Amen to that. Amen to that. I think we have to get back to what we were doing in the early 2000s when we were actually going out to the bookstores and signing books. I think we depend too much on social media.
Yeah, that's true. I would say that's true. But whatever's the best, I thank you so much for including our small bookstore. And once again, shout out to my wonderful wife, Michelle Lewis. Thank you, honey, for letting us walk off those jobs and be independent now and stuff where we are right now.
Beautiful.
Well,
thank you
congratulations on that.
Yes. And thank you so much for being on the show tonight and for sharing so much knowledge. I really enjoyed this interview.
Thank you.
I'm sure that the people did too.
But we'll make it happen. I appreciate y'all and all the work y'all do.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Hey, thank you. Peace.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, well, that's it for this week's episode of Black Authors Matter TV. We've had a wonderful time with our interviewees, and we hope you all enjoyed them as well. Next week, we have, for the second half of the show, we're announcing the finalists for the J. Pinkney Children's Book Award, so be sure to tune in for that. And until then, and we have two great guests at the top of the show, so we'll be posting the flyer tomorrow, and you'll be able to see who our lineup is for next week. So having said that, I'm signing off. I'm Gwen Richardson. You have a great evening.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.